David Kerr of the Chicago Tribune says the first movie in this series skims along agreeable surfaces, expertly balancing its comedy with melodrama and fulfilling expectations right on schedule. About its sequel, Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times says the humor is so predictable, forced, and awkward that the actors sometimes seem like helpless bystanders. And about the third film in this series, Variety's Daniel M. Kimmel says the movie won't set any box office records, but it's an amusing film in its own right. On this episode of Ruined Childhoods, we decide the fate of Major League.
Sequel. Reboot. Which one will it be?
It's the Ruined Childhoods podcast.
Greetings, Starfighters. Welcome to Ruined Childhoods. It's your old pal Dan here from the house that I have barely left in the last month. John, how are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm also in my home, which I've barely left in the past month. Went for a beautiful walk today. So there's that.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. For some reason, I woke up all right. So I'm going to trust that my 6-year-old isn't listening to this. I woke up at 5:30 this morning to plant the Easter. We're recording this on Easter, on April 12th. And I went out and hid all of the various eggs and chocolates all around the yard and attempted to get it all done before she woke up, which I could not have gotten up a moment too soon.
Really?
It seemed like it felt like as soon as I came back in, like within 10 minutes of coming back inside, she was up.
Wow.
And of course, she was ready to go.
She is an enthusiastic child, to say the least.
At all hours. Oh my.
So we are not an Easter celebrating family, but yesterday, in an act of desperation of just like wanting to keep my child busy, I put on the movie Hop. And
nice.
James Marsden certainly does a serviceable job. We turned it off probably about halfway through just because it was like, I don't feel like having to explain Easter to her right now.
Oh, is it? Did you really
it's about
have to?
The Easter Bunny. So
yeah,
it's
but I mean, but do you have to explain Easter?
No, not the he hath risen type stuff. There's nothing about that unless there is in the back half.
I know I haven't seen it. I'm pretty sure there isn't. My daughter Chloe could explain that, as she does attend a Catholic school.
Right.
I did ask Chloe this question because, and I asked, so my wife grew up Catholic, and I asked her this question because I was thinking about it, and I was like, I've never heard this part of the story, so I want to know what happened when he rose. What happened when he came back? What did he do? Normally, when you have someone coming back from the dead, it's they're going to avenge something, and he had plenty to avenge. But you don't hear about that. You're not like, Jesus
I don't think he was so much of an
vengeful
vengeful guy.
But did he just come back and was just like, I just did this so y'all know I can do this? And then...
Well, it wasn't too long ago, and everybody out there right now who does know is probably screaming at us right now. But
no, please email us. I'm sorry. It sounds like I'm joking, but I seriously want to know what I mean, not what would Jesus do? What did Jesus do? He rose from the grave. I think there was a cave involved. And
well, what I want to know is, so Jesus came back, and to pile on your question of, and then what? My question is so then did he die again? Because or is it just kind of he is then here everywhere spiritually?
Is that, maybe that's what it is. John, you might have answered it. Maybe he didn't actually physically rise because your answer kind of jibes more with the whole idea of, religion.
Sure.
Otherwise,
yeah, I don't know. But yes, if you do want to Easter-splain us, please, ruinchildhoodspod@gmail.com.
Christ-splain? I don't know.
Yeah,
G-splain?
Sure. Yeah. We don't know. We're not going to Google it. We want you to just crowdsource this information.
They don't teach you that in Hebrew school.
Yeah. So your daughter Chloe's very excited this morning. So I have to know, does she know that, and for any of our younger listeners, I'm sorry, but that there's no Easter Bunny?
By the way, if you're listening to a podcast all about the R-rated movie Major League, your innocence has been sullied already. So
listen, baseball fans, I know that's why you're listening to this. Sorry.
Anyway, no, look, the Easter Bunny is in many ways a mascot, much like, the Cleveland Indians mascot or the Philly Fanatic or any other Mr. Met, who's just like a walking baseball.
Yeah, baseball head guy.
Yeah, I guess baseball mascots are really kind of, they're weird, but that's another tangent for another time or just later in the episode.
Right.
But yeah, so no, I mean, well, there's the Easter Bunny, and then also in Dutch tradition, because my wife is Belgian, there is the Paasklok, and I'm pretty sure it's a clock.
Ooh.
That travels for Easter, and the Paasklok leaves, paws like the paws of Easter eggs.
Yeah.
And so she believes in both the Paasklok and the Easter Bunny.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
if she was to listen to this podcast, this episode, her childhood would be ruined by her Uncle John.
Yes. Oh, well, and her own father.
Well, I kicked off the
Easter Bunny
issue.
is your father, Chloe.
Oh, boy. So, yes, you mentioned...
She just finds me in a big Easter Bunny helmet. And yes.
You mentioned that we're talking about Major League on this episode. We decided to do this because we recently passed what would have been opening day of the baseball season had it not been put on hold in lieu of the global pandemic.
As good a reason as any to put a hold on Major League sports.
Yeah, and okay, there's a lot of ways to go about this, but I'm just going to say what's kind of funny is I was even considering several months ago getting into baseball this season. I was like, I wouldn't mind to have that thing that's like I check in on every now and then, and I follow what's going on, and I am rooting for a team. And I live in Portland, Oregon. We don't have a baseball team. We're working on it, but we don't have one. So I think I would probably go with one of the cities I've lived in before, maybe the Dodgers or the aforementioned Phillies. But here we are.
Man, this was going to be the year. And for those of you who don't know,
it's canceled.
John and I are not necessarily sports fans. We casually enjoy the sports. John is more of a sports fan because he married into it.
Oh, okay. Right. I married into somebody who appreciates the Oregon Ducks college football team. They are a lot of fun to watch. Living in Portland, the Portland Trailblazers are a thing. We've been to a bunch of games, not anytime recently since we had our kid, really. And there's also, Portland is a very big soccer town. We've got the Timbers, and then there's the Thorns. Timbers are men and Thorns are women. I know Seattle has a very similar.
Oh, yeah. Well, Seattle's. Oh, yeah, the Sounders and the, I want to say the Reign, which is the Megan Rapinoe team that she plays for. So, Seattle is a big, big soccer town. We have a baseball team. We're more of a big football town. That's the first thing when you move to Seattle, you're like, damn, I need to get a Seahawk. I need a Seahawk shirt. I need something that I can wear on Fridays when everybody else in the city is wearing their Seahawks gear.
Right. And
Mariners, not so much.
Yeah. We're going to come back. We're going to come back to that.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So our sports fandom, I mean, if we want to go back to childhood. I should mention, Dan, you were a big Steve Garvey fan, at least one Halloween.
I was a big Steve Garvey fan in the fall of 1987 when his baseball card was perhaps the easiest for our mother to adapt into although, I mean, it's a challenge no matter what. That was an amazing costume. When I was the Steve Garvey 1987 Donruss card. I believe it was the Donruss card. And I do still have, and this is where I'm going to put myself out as a baseball fan, because in the mid to late 80s, I was a big baseball fan and followed the New York Mets, and like when they won the World Series, I remember that. And I met Howard Johnson at an autograph signing in Westfield, New Jersey. I remember it very well.
I want to give on the note of the 1986 Mets, I want to give a shout out in case he's listening to my buddy DJ Carter, whose father was the late Gary Carter. Pour one out,
man, for Gary Carter. Jeez, one of the best.
I did have the luxury, the joy of attending a minor league. It was like a AAA league baseball game for a team that he was coaching maybe a few years before he passed away. So that was fun. Man, really nice to meet him.
I always remember hearing that he was just like one of those genuinely good guys in the game.
Yeah,
I remember hearing like no one ever had a bad thing to say about Gary Carter. I loved the Mets, and actually, I do. It's a close. I have a close, even though I don't necessarily follow baseball closely anymore. I do feel I have a Mets cap sitting, hanging right in front of me, and in fact, not the last professional baseball game I went to see, but in 2015, fall of 2015, the Mets had made it to the playoffs. Or the Mets had made it to, the World Series. They made it to the playoffs, and then they made it to the World Series. And that was also the fall that, and we were living in New York at the time, but my wife had been in rounds and rounds of interviews for a job here in Seattle, which, spoiler alert, she got. And when we told my parents and John's parents, one and the same.
Yeah, we've got the same parents.
Yes, we do. And we told them that we were going to be moving to Seattle. And Dad got out his phone and got us World Series tickets.
Yeah.
It was Halloween. It was a cool night to go to the World Series because I'm taking the subway in New York, and you're only seeing everyone all geared up for Halloween, and they did not win the game, nor did they win the World Series, but it didn't matter. And that was cool, kind of like, it was one of the last things I did before we moved from New York was see the New York Mets play in the World Series, which does not happen very often.
Yeah.
much like the Cleveland Indians of 1989's Major League.
Yeah. What?
I'm sorry, John. I feel like I'm rambling, but I have a one more thing.
Ooh, what's your one more thing?
For seconds.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if you had a one more thing. I've got a one more thing for seconds, and that goes under the category of potential filmmakers. And also I want to cite French Fry Phil's comment on Instagram where he suggested Robert Pattinson in a potential remake, which I'm like, oh, interesting. And that,
Robert Pattinson's been doing some really interesting stuff lately. I mean, with The Lighthouse, especially. And
yes.
Yeah.
So, but my thought, because I decided to check out Devs on Hulu.
Okay.
And within the first 5 minutes, I was like, why did neither of us mention Alex Garland as a potential director of a Seconds remake?
Right. That would have been that would be a good one.
He is so good at building that tension and psychology and really playing with the psyche and the mind. Manipulation and power and struggles and things like that. It's very much themes of his. Also technology, which certainly Seconds is dealing with. So that was my one more thing for Seconds. Alex Garland.
Alex Garland. So, Dan, I don't know if you listened to the episode after it went out. Did you?
It's parts. I've heard some.
Okay. So if you listen to the end of the episode, so for anybody new to the show, at the end of each episode, I like to tack on a song that in some way relates to the movie that we're talking about. It could be something really on the nose, or it could be something a little bit more out there. And for this one, it's a little bit more out there, and I'd be curious to know if anybody got what it was. It is a performance. I don't know exactly what this is from, but it is Rock Hudson and B. Arthur performing a song called Sniff, Swig, Puff about recreational drugs and alcohol. And it is a trip. It is absolutely phenomenal. And I recommend not just listening to it, but go on YouTube and watch them performing it. It's really delightful. It's two legends just like singing a song like in the 70s about, you know, blow and weed. It's great.
All due respect to Rock Hudson, but you could just tell me it was B. Arthur singing it. And
right, but the two of them combined makes it even better.
That's fantastic. And no, I haven't listened all the way through our last episode. I usually give it a few weeks so that it's not as fresh in my mind.
I suggest to anybody, if you are listening to an episode and you get to a point where you're just like, I don't feel like finishing this one, just skip to the end. And listen to the final song. I promise you it'll be at least a little bit enjoyable. I always try to make sure that part is pretty decent.
It is. It is. There's always a nice treat at the end.
Yeah, for Seconds, it's hard because it's not like there's a lot of people writing songs about the movie Seconds or like referencing it in like some rap or something. So this one had to just be a Rock Hudson tune.
It just popped into my mind, but like, because the music for Tootsie was so signature, and you have like the theme from Tootsie, like the doing it the best, like that 80s yacht rock style. And I was just imagining that for Seconds. Sometimes I wake up, I'm Tony. And sometimes I fall down, I'm Arthur. I don't know.
So on this episode, we are talking about Major League. I'm going to launch into, I just wrote out a synopsis for the first two movies. I did not go back to the minors. Dan, did you watch Back to the Minors?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I did not make it back to the minors. I did.
Okay, so this is your disclaimer that like we're not going to talk about it aside from maybe just like a quick sentence or two. So without any further ado, Major League 1989, written and directed by David S. Ward. Rachel Phelps, a former Las Vegas performer, inherits the racistly named Cleveland Indians and plans to put together the worst team in baseball so she can move the team to Miami. After loading it up with ex-cons, has-beens, and eccentrics, there's no way they can win. And after finding out about her plan, the team decides there's only one thing that they can do: win it all. And despite all the odds, that's exactly what they do. Tom Berenger plays Jake Taylor, a pro catcher with bum knees who has a shot at one final season. He's also vying for the attention of his librarian ex-girlfriend Lynn, played by Renee Russo. You can tell she's a librarian because her vanity license plate says, "Read." Charlie Sheen plays Rick Wild Thing Vaughn, an ex-con with a mean fastball but very little control. Once he puts on a pair of glasses, he can see clearly, except when it comes to a sexual exploit with a woman who turns out to be the wife of his teammate, Roger Dorn. Corbin Burnson plays Roger Dorn, a wealthy, cocky, and slimy third baseman who's a few years past his prime. Also on the team is Willie Mays Hayes, portrayed by Wesley Snipes, another cocky hotshot who has a talent for stolen bases. And let's not forget another racist aspect of Major League, Dennis Haysbert's portrayal of Pedro Serrano, a powerful hitter whose strength is derived from his idol, Joe Boo. And when I say idol, I mean a literal idol. But the real star of the show is alcoholic Indians announcer Harry Doyle, played by former baseball player turned Brewers announcer turned wrestling announcer turned Mr. Belvedere actor Bob Uecker. And that's what I've got for the first Major League movie. I have to say, Bob Uecker is the best part of these movies. He's so funny.
He's easily the best part of the second one.
Of the second one, for sure. Debatable, and I'll get to that in a second. But he's so good. He's so good. A lot of his lines were improvised. He's completely believable as an announcer because he used to be one.
Well, yeah.
He's
He's also the father on Mr. Belvedere, which is, I think, why he was cast. I think that
he was
what
that
got him
and
cast.
The Miller Lite ads that he was in also caught the eye of David S. Ward. And
who, by the way,
because of his voice.
And by the way, David S. Ward does have some exceptional credits to his name. This guy wrote or co-wrote The Sting.
Yeah. And The Sting, too.
And this, well, yeah.
To a lesser extent.
I'll be honest, I've never seen The Sting 2 and really have no desire to. But he also Sleepless in Seattle.
King Ralph.
King Ralph.
Down Periscope for what it's worth. Well, he directed
Down Periscope.
Down Periscope, yeah.
Yeah, and The Program, which I remember enjoying that. I remember when that came out. That was the one where the football players would lie down in the middle of the highway, and then it was like a stupid internet challenge before there were stupid internet challenges, where you'd get like kids on college and high school football teams who were like, yeah, no, let's go do that. Let's go lie down in the middle of the highway because, real life is like the movies and we won't get run over.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's one that I'm sure to probably not check out.
It's not bad. James Caan is in it.
Okay.
Craig Sheffer.
All right.
Yeah. I actually think Omar Epps. I mean, if I remember, is it Omar Epps who's in it? I think Omar Epps who takes over.
Yeah. I mean, so just to talk a little bit more about Major League, Tom Berenger is... his character, Jake Taylor, is kind of the anchor character from the team. They focus more on his relationship with Lynn, Rene Russo's character, who's Rene Russo's so good. She's so good. She's
great. Yeah. I guess and I'm watching it and I'm like, I love Rene Russo. I'm such a big fan of hers. I think, this was the first thing I saw her in, but Lethal Weapon 3 was probably the first time that I was really like, oh, damn, Rene Russo's fucking awesome.
Yeah, she's great.
I wonder how necessary, and there's some great scenes, like the scene when he kind of ends up at that dinner party.
Right.
Or that little dinner party, and it's really awkward. But I kept watching it and I was like, how necessary is this?
Well, there needed to be some sort of like emotional hook in this movie, like humanizing the characters a little bit more, really highlighting, especially for the Jake Taylor character, it's this guy who used to be a really good ball player, but now is like at the end and is just kind of struggling for relevance, and is looking back at his life and thinking like, I really messed up and neglected some important things. And this is him trying to get a little piece of that back with this person who he loves, Rene Russo's character.
And I guess the other question I have about that subplot is, had they established that Jake played in Cleveland before? Because I didn't think he was from Cleveland.
I think that maybe, and this is probably like from like one line in there, that he did at one point, and that's when he and Lynn were together, and then maybe went and played somewhere else and like, I don't know, started a whole new life.
I mean, he's in Mexico when...
Yeah, that's right.
At the beginning of the movie? Yeah.
Excuse me. Miss Westland, there's a telephone call for you at the desk.
Oh,
Okay, thank you. That's strange. I'll be right back. Hello?
Hello, Lynn. It's Jake.
Jake. Jake Taylor?
Mm-hmm.
How'd you know I was here?
Just a hunch. I took you there when you got your master's degree, remember? I figured you're wearing that black dress with a red sash.
How'd you know that? I didn't even have this dress on.
You're still a stunner.
Thanks. What are you doing here? Aren't you supposed to be in Mexico somewhere?
Well, I'm playing with the Indians again. Back in the bigs.
Well, that's great. That's great, Jake. I'm happy for you.
Lynn, I don't think he's gonna buy the phone bit now.
I gotta get back.
Wait a minute. I need your number. I tried calling you at home, but you're not listed.
My life is different from when you knew me, Jake.
Meaning what? I don't know you anymore?
Couldn't we talk about this some other time? I really gotta get back.
Okay, just give me the number.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Why? Because this guy you're with, what is he, an accountant?
Attorney,
Oh, worse.
please. He's watching us.
I'm not leaving till you give me your number.
All right. It's 555-1934.
Thank you. Lynn. I'm back. I'm gonna be around.
I was thinking about that storyline, and I was wondering during those scenes, as much as I thought they were nice, and Tom Berenger is always such like a stoic. Like I feel like Tom Berenger gets paid extra to smile. Like I remember, like I used to watch a Tom Berenger movie and sometimes count the number of times he would smile. And
So Tom Berenger, I believe that he started off more of like, you know, a hunky leading role, and then for a while, like I guess in the 90s, he was doing more of the like weird action movies, like Sniper, I believe.
Sniper with Billy Zane.
Billy Zane,
movie.
Love Billy Zane. And
Hey,
then
Sniper's not a bad flick, if I remember correctly.
And as far as I know, he kind of disappeared a little bit or dipped down a little bit. And then he was in Inception. He's been, I think he may have been in some more Christopher Nolan movies, but like, I remember seeing him in Inception and being like, oh my God, that's Tom Berenger.
Tom Berenger.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, well, he was in Platoon.
Well, Platoon.
Which I'm pretty sure he was nominated for an Oscar for that. Was he in The Big Chill?
I don't remember him in The Big Chill.
I don't think so. Oh, he did The Substitute.
Right, The Substitute. I think there's a few of those Substitute movies, right?
Yeah, but I think Treat Williams. Oh, yeah, he was in The Big Chill.
Oh, there you go.
He plays like the he's like a TV star.
Oh, yes. Okay.
He's like that TJ Hooker type show.
So he's great. Corbin Burnson does a really good job in these, just playing the like smarmy douche who you just
really
want
funny
to see fall on his face. And in the second movie, get hit by a ball.
See his wife get banged by Charlie Sheen.
Yeah. Charlie Sheen is great as Rick Wild Thing Vaughn. I mean, it's a character that like is so iconic and it's just so much fun.
Yeah.
There's a big difference.
Perfect for Charlie Sheen.
It's right. And it's like you watch him play that character in the first movie and you're like, he really does slip into, like, he just falls into that character. Like, it doesn't seem so much like he's not like overacting a whole bunch. Whereas in the second one, which we'll talk about soon, I feel like he was a little bit more over the top and he lost his edge a little bit, which is exactly fitting for the character. So
the point of the movie.
Yeah. Well, yes. But like even Charlie Sheen himself just seems like he's like a little doughier and I don't know. He just doesn't.
No, the 80s. And it's a Platoon reunion. All we're missing is Willem Dafoe.
All we are missing is Willem Dafoe, Dan. That's it.
All you need is Willem Dafoe.
Wesley Snipes, so good.
Love Wesley Snipes.
So
in
good.
general, I love Wesley Snipes. I love Wesley Snipes in this movie.
He's a treat. I really enjoy him. And I did mention that Dennis Haysbert's character, it's a bit of a racist portrayal because it's making a mockery of like voodoo.
Voodoo and like, I guess like Caribbean culture.
Yeah.
It's because they don't even specify what his nationality or ethnicity is. Like, is he Dominican? I always assumed he's Dominican, but they never say.
Yeah, no. Dennis Haysbert, though, plays the role really great.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the role itself is a little icky.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting, what I noticed, and because not having seen it in a few, and this Major League is a movie I go back to every few years, especially around baseball season, and watching it again, I was thinking about kind of that in the 1980s, both in sports movies and in sports itself, the casual racism, homophobia, things like that. And I think that Major League could have very easily gone much further with the characters. Now, the script, the writing, yes, it plays on the stereotypes, but you don't like Eddie Harris, the character played by Chelsea Ross. Even though he starts some static with Serrano, it's not about
Christian.
Yeah, it's not about anything other than just. I mean, it's one of the best lines in the movie. Are you trying to tell me Jesus Christ couldn't hit a curveball?
Yeah, and that's a totally fine character. I didn't mention him just because he's kind of like close to being an ancillary character, just kind of like.
But he
comes
great
in and
transition.
Serves a purpose. True, yeah.
But he comes around. That's the thing, is like and that character could have gotten homophobic. Like I couldn't remember. I was like, does he drop an FAG bomb on Charlie Sheen at some point? And other than making fun of making fun of him more as like, you whippersnapper.
Right.
He doesn't go there, and I couldn't remember, and I was wondering, I was like, is there going to be any of that casual racism in the characters? And I have to say, like, I was pleasantly surprised / impressed. Like, think about a movie like The Bad News Bears.
Totally.
15 years before this, but...
And 15-year-old kids.
Geez, you got one line alone that, blows the lid off it. It's
bad. And the things that bump me in terms of the racism in this, there's, of course, Serrano's character and the way I don't know, there's buffoonery around a culture that, to my knowledge, Dennis Haysbert is not a representative of.
Right.
So there's that. And I mean, also just the Cleveland Indians. It's a very problematic baseball team name, and their mascot representative, Wahoo, whatever you want to call Wahoo, it's extremely problematic. I can't remember if it was the first one or the second one, but there's people with signs in the crowd that say "Injin," and it's icky. It's bad.
I think the second one is, I found to be more offensive, or just more like a tactless.
Well, let's talk about the second
first one. Well, sorry, I just wanted to point out a couple of things, a couple of observations I had while watching the original. And first of all, moment that I love that I never noticed before is when Harris is about to say his prayer and like no one's into it, and he's trying to get he's like mom singing Dayenu on the virtual Seder. Love you, Mom. I love how right before he starts the prayer, Dorn farts in his face as he walks out. I never noticed it
It's
before,
so
but I see
good.
him fanning his ass.
Yeah.
And also, another thing I was thinking about was when Taylor is doing his, little fantasy home run thing in the empty stadium and you watch him running the bases. I was like, oh shit, this is what baseball would look like if it were played.
Ooh, that's dark.
No, I was thinking about, I was like, oh, this, because I've been watching some pro wrestling. It was WrestleMania last weekend, and it was, they pre-taped some matches, which actually worked to their advantage in a lot of ways, because they had a couple of matches that were more cinematic and were more storytelling. And then, but they had matches in an empty arena. And if there's, sports without a crowd is definitely different. Pro wrestling, it's like the crowd is a participant.
Yeah.
So very eerie.
What I'm wondering about that, and maybe you can answer this. If you can't, maybe somebody listening can. In terms of the performers, clearly they cannot stand 6 feet away from each other. Are they getting tested? Are they quarantining together? Like, how are they being safe about that?
To the extent that they can. Like, I can tell you that there were a few performers who were not, who didn't perform at WrestleMania because of, so you had one person who showed up because they've been filming everything out of their performance center in Florida. You have one wrestler who showed up and he was just sick, like had like a cold or had sniffles or something. And they turned him away and were like, yeah, no, you're not coming back here. Another performer who was slated to be in one of the main events, because they ended up splitting it into 2 nights. But one of the guys who was he was supposed to have a big title win, but this is a guy who's also been through 2 bouts of leukemia, fighting leukemia. So he's immunocompromised, and he sat it out because he's just like, I can't be, like, I really can't protect myself. I'm in a much more compromised position than everybody else. So you have people, and fortunately, this guy's in a position where he's not going to lose a big payday, or, it's not going to hurt him to miss out on that. But yeah, I think a lot of people aren't happy about it. There's a lot of guys who have kind of called for it, but also there are other companies that are continuing to do shows. It's not just WWE. It's AEW, which airs on TNT. And yeah, in terms of the safety, there's less matches.
Yeah.
You have a lot more like pre-taped interviews and things like that. But yeah, it's not, should it be happening? That's maybe not for me to say. I'm not the one calling the shots. Yeah. Anyway, back to Major League.
Yeah.
But that's what I was thinking. And just kind of like at the end of the movie, I'm thinking like, man, this really does, despite because the stuff that you're pointing out, like that as being racist, other than the character of Serrano, the things like Cleveland Indians, Atlanta Braves, Washington Redskins are not, this is not the doing of David S. Ward.
No.
And Major League.
Right.
So
absolutely.
The themes of this movie of redemption, and not just redemption for one character, not just redemption for several characters.
It's a great
it holds up.
Underdog story. It's just like
corruption,
a really fun. Yeah.
Defeating corruption. Damn, what's not relevant about that?
Also, if you think about it, it's in a lot of ways the same plot of like several Police Academy movies.
Oh, well, hold on. I'm not going to turn down that road because there's no turning back now on Police Academy.
The only thing I'm saying is that in the first one and in the fourth one, you have the Police Academy, and the third one. That's right. There's the plan by one person to try to set them up to fail so that the programs go away. In the first one, it's to recruit people who are in legal jeopardy to redeem themselves through the system. In the fourth one, of course, it's the Citizens on Patrol program that Captain Harris is trying to have fail.
John, we can't start talking about Police Academy.
I'm just saying it's a formula that works, and I'm here for it.
Speaking of the Bad News Bears, by the way, the other Bad News Bears, all the Bad News Bears movies, I mean, similarly. But, yeah, I think it really holds up really well,
It's
and
a
it was
lot of
fun
fun
to see some baseball.
Yeah. So Major League 2, 1994, also directed by David S. Ward. The gang is back for another season, but this time the team is owned by former player Roger Dorn. But not to worry, the team has some new additions. Hayseed catcher Rube Baker and Jack Parkman, a mean all-star who gets traded to the Yankees due to Dorn's money troubles. But it's not a fully cash trade. They also get Hiroshi Kamikaze Tanaka, I said kamikaze in quotes, a wild outfielder straight from Japan. Other changes from last season involve Serrano's move to Buddhism, Rick Vaughn going corporate, Roger Taylor acts as a manager, and Willie Mays Hayes is suddenly Omar Epps, and is also acting in bad action movies with Jesse the Body Ventura. When Dorn is in complete financial trouble, he sells the team at a major loss back to Rachel Phelps, who wants nothing more than for them to fail. It's very light on plot. It's just kind of a little bit more of the same.
Let's start with that this movie came out 5 years after the original, and it's supposed to be next season. This is not even a full year later.
Absolutely.
It is 6 months.
So we have David Keith as Jack Parkman, Takai Ishibashi as Tanaka, Eric Bruscotter as Rube Baker, Indiana Jones in The Last Crusades, Allison Doody as Rebecca Flannery, Rick's agent and girlfriend. Michelle Burke is Nikki Reese, Rick's ex, who he's trying to get back together with. You might remember her from Dazed and Confused or Coneheads. I think she's delightful. She's great.
Yes.
And Randy Quaid is Johnny, a big-time Indians fan who is let down by his team all the way until the very end when Vaughn takes the field with the signature haircut, glasses, and leather jacket with the sleeves ripped off. Randy Quaid and Bob Uecker in this one, to me, really make this movie.
Oh.
Wild Thing, You Make My Butt Stink. It's so good. He's a perfect angry anti-fan. It's so good.
Yeah.
He's delightful. He's great.
He is. This movie, though, I mean, talk about stereotypes and just weird, like, we're just gonna, like, the weird feud between
Tanaka and Serrano.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Where it's just like, we're gonna, hey, he's foreign.
Yeah. I mean, the whole Tanaka character is dicey. And I mean, I understand that Takai Ishibashi, performed things a certain way willingly. I think that just, I don't know. You can't
didn't
force,
write it.
Yeah, it's a funny character. It's for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I mean, it's whereas in the original Major League, you can take the things like Serrano's character and say, okay, well, this is a bit of a farce and this is an exaggeration and it's 1989.
Yeah.
And everything else around it is pretty strong.
Right.
And in Major League 2, it's just like all the air has been let out of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's some good jokes and there are some things about it that stick out to me and that I think about to this day. I think that the first time I ever heard of bail bonds was from this movie because Dorn rents out like the back of the stadium for like really cheap advertising. And one of them is a bail bonds. That's just one of the gags in it. So I don't know. There's just some, and I think that it's a lot of the Bob Uecker jokes that
Bob
stick out to
Uecker's
me.
magnificent when he's too drunk to do anything.
And he passes it
in the
off to,
second one, right?
it's like, and here's this guy. Like, he never bothers to learn the guy's name.
Yeah.
And then he's
Yeah.
just like, hit. Catch. So Omar Epps replacing Wesley Snipes is kind of just like, what do you do? How do you just let that happen?
Would it not have been realistic to just say Willie Mays Hayes got traded, or were they already like, nope, he's in the script?
Yeah, I guess. I
sticking
don't
to
know. I mean, Omar Epps does a totally fine job.
Yeah. Oh,
it's
yeah.
not a
no,
problem with
nothing
Omar
against
Epps.
Omar Epps.
Yeah,
but
it's the movie's
Wesley Snipes
decision.
was so good.
Wesley Snipes was Wesley Snipes in 1989.
I'm trying to remember, like, what was Wesley Snipes doing in 1994 that he couldn't do Major League 2? Or
You
like
know what?
93,
I felt
94?
like I read the reason why that happened. I can see if I can find that really quick.
I mean, he was pretty busy.
Well,
Money
yeah,
Train?
1994. Yeah, let's just see what Wesley
Money
Snipes
Train was 95, I think. Yeah.
in 1990. Okay, so 93 was Demolition Man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I have been saying be well to everybody, and I have been signing off emails with be well, and it feels so
awesome.
good.
94 was Drop Zone, the Demolition Man video game. And then in 95 was Tu Wong Fu and Money Train and Waiting to Exhale.
Right.
So, I mean, 94 was, I mean, for Wesley Snipes at that time, not as busy of a year.
No.
92 is Passenger 57, White Men Can't Jump. Oh, I think I did read somewhere that
91 was New Jack City.
Wait, I think I read somewhere that he couldn't do it because he was filming White Man Can't Jump. So I wonder if Major League 2 was filmed and just got kind of held back a while.
Shelved. That would make sense.
Yeah.
That would make sense. Okay.
I think I read that somewhere. So I have to say I really enjoy Rube Baker. I think that's a really fun character. The total dumb hayseed. And he's the one that gets the team to snap out of their funk. And because, I mean, it culminates ultimately with them getting into a fist fight with each other and the whole team getting thrown out in the first game of a doubleheader. And then in between games, Rube Baker, who like injured his foot or ankle or something, gives them this huge pep talk about like how amazing it is that they're even there. And that encourages them to get back into it. And they all start performing really well. I like that.
Was a nice moment. That was a really nice moment.
I thought that Rube Baker was awesome. So Rube Baker, he is a catcher. And at this point, Jake Taylor becomes the coach because of the way that he helps Rube Baker with his problem, which is throwing the ball back to the pitcher's mound, which he's unable to do. But he notices that Rube Baker likes to read Playboy for the articles. So in order to not think about how he's going to throw the ball, the crowd behind him, like all of the things that get into his head, he makes him recall information about the Playmates. And then he's able to throw the ball back to the pitcher's mound.
And doesn't he has him read like the Victoria's Secret
It's
catalog?
the Fredericks of Hollywood.
Oh, right.
That's in the last game against the, I want to say White Sox. No, the Yankees. It was the Yankees. The White Sox is the first one, which Jack Parkman was traded to. And he is just like mean asshole. He was like the best player on the team.
He smoked cigarettes.
He had a little like shimmy that drove the women wild when he would like get up to the plate. He was
like Johnny Damon.
And
he kind of reminded me of Johnny Damon.
Yeah, totally. And talking about Rick Wild Thing Vaughn, the former hotshot, he completely lost his edge, like we were saying, and he's been doing a lot of endorsements, and he cleaned up his act, and he's just trying to become this, different person because of Allison Duty's character. And man, you see her in this and in Last Crusade, and it's just like, I just want to tell the person, like, get away from them.
Don't trust her.
Don't trust anyone.
Remember what I told you, Mr. Vaughn. Don't trust anyone.
Exactly. So, yeah, and Rick Vaughn
That
also
would've made it
grows
all
out his
worth it.
haircut.
That would have made it all worth it if like that guy wasn't it Julian Glover, I think. If he like walked out
That'd be really funny.
into the apartment.
Yeah.
Great.
So, yeah, and it's the ex-girlfriend, Michelle, who is the teacher, and I guess like she has this group of kids who are underprivileged. They're kids who have gotten into trouble, and she somehow is with them all the time.
Well, I couldn't tell if it was like not, I don't want to say an orphanage, but like a home for kids who maybe have been displaced or removed from the home, because they seemed to live there.
Yeah, that's true. So she's trying to help these kids. One of them in particular, Rick Wild Thing Vaughn, is his total idol. So he pops up all the time, and like, imagine if when you were 11 and like the biggest celebrity to you, let's say like Jeff Goldblum, was dating your teacher that you were with all the time, and it was just like accessible to you at all times. I'm just tossing out a name.
God, we would have the best conversations.
Yeah, but like he seems totally jaded by him. Like, yes, he's lost his edge, and he's not the Rick Vaughn that the kids thought that he was going to be. But like, they're with him all the time.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of baseball movies have that. Yeah, it's kind of a cliche or a trope of baseball movies where there's
Ricky.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's the kid in the hospital. Babe Ruth, calls the home runs, and at 8 Men Out, there's the kids who always it's Charlie Sheen's character in that I think always runs into the neighborhood kids, or no, it's John Cusack's character who like runs into the neighborhood kids, and they're like, hey, you guys gonna go all the way this year? And he's like, yeah, there's a pennant in our future if we don't throw it.
Yeah. If
we don't throw the game. 8 Men Out is an awesome baseball movie.
It's really good. I haven't seen it in a long time. It's really good.
So good.
So, yeah, Rick Vaughn, I don't know. The way that Charlie Sheen plays him is just very dull. Even when he does come back at the end and he puts on his glasses, which, by the way, I just want to put a mental image in your head right now. Rick Vaughn with a pair of black horn-rimmed glasses and a hot glue gun at home, putting on the little like skull and crossbones and like putting a decal on of a lightning bolt, like doing arts and crafts night at home, getting his glasses bedazzled. Because that had to have happened in order for his character to have had that item. You don't buy it that way.
I mean, I have a pair of sunglasses with skull and crossbones on them. I didn't hot glue them on or anything.
Dan, the pair of glasses that he has a skull and crossbones right on the bridge. It is clearly a custom job.
Oh, John, clearly you have not been to Hot Topic recently.
Hot Topic did not exist in 1989, to my knowledge.
Didn't it? No,
to my knowledge.
I don't know. I'm sure I probably did. Yeah.
All right, well then picture this, if you will. Rick Wild Thing Vaughn going to the mall and walking into a Hot Topic. He's like going through like Jack Skellington hoodies, just trying to find like the right thing to wear to the game. So when I was mentioning Randy Quaid's character, you kind of like winced a little bit. Like you weren't so into it.
I think because I felt that Randy Quaid, after National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, just got hired to do like flailing loud Randy Quaid.
He's good at it.
He is good at it. But it wasn't until I think Kingpin that I think he really he did something that was like
good.
Funny. Like Randy Quaid and Kingpin is hilarious, but I'm trying to think of a Randy Quaid performance between Christmas Vacation and Kingpin that wasn't just like kind of trying to replicate some of the energy
What year
he
was
brought.
Kingpin?
96.
96. I mean, his role in Independence Day was a little...
That was 96.
Yeah, it was 96. So, like, but it was kind of borderline. Like, this guy's kind of crazy, but it wasn't just, like, comical. Like,
no, there was more
crazy.
nuance. Like, he wasn't a Vietnam vet.
Yeah, like, there was a reason why he was that way. I mean, but the thing is, like, crazy sports fanatics, like, they're Randy Quaid types. Like,
it's
made
less
sense.
the character, more. Yeah, I know, but it felt like I think that Randy Quaid in the role maybe took me out of it.
Oh yeah,
bit.
see, I liked it,
and it just made me want to watch Christmas Vacation and see him as like Cousin Eddie.
You can. It's not going anywhere.
No, I know.
Yeah. Now, Major League Back to the Minors is the third movie. It seems like anybody involved with Major League kind of wants to erase it from history pretty much. And we'll get to that.
It is not considered canon.
Yeah. Well, so I think like Serrano is back in it. Is Scott Bakula in it?
Scott Bakula is in it.
Scott Bakula is in it. I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure Corbin Burnson is also in it. Yeah, Scott Bakula, Corbin Burnson, Dennis Haysbert is back. We've got Tanaka, Rube, Walton Goggins as Billy Downtown Anderson. An early Walton Goggins role.
Early Walton Goggins.
Yeah. So
I guess it's canon.
Yeah. So this one came out in 98. Not directed by David S. Ward. This one's directed by John Warren, who also did The Girl in the Cadillac. No, wrote The Girl in the Cadillac and Flash Fight. Like, don't bother looking him up. Not much, but wrote and directed Major League Back to the Minors. There's really not much for us to really say about it. I mean, I'll read just the description, the synopsis on IMDb. Gus Cantrell, which is Scott Bakula's character, turns his team from a laughingstock into the equivalent of blue chip stocks in this third Major League comedy that reunites 5 series returnees, including wisecracking play-by-play man Bob Uecker. Oh, Bob Uecker's in it. Why is Bob Uecker announcing for a minor league team?
What else was he doing?
I don't know. I guess Mr. Belvedere was done. Just wanted to hang out. Wisecrack in front of a microphone.
Why is Mr. Belvedere not available on any streaming services?
I don't know, but
I don't expect you to know this, John. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I asked as though you did.
There's that factor, the fact that I wouldn't know. But I mean, the only thing I can ever think of about Mr. Belvedere is the story about how they had to cancel production for a day because he sat on his balls. Have you never heard
I never heard
before?
that story.
One day when they were shooting, he sat down and his balls were positioned in a weird place. And
Mr. Belvedere?
Yeah.
Or Bob Uecker. Okay.
Mr. Belvedere. And
Christopher Hewitt.
Christopher Hewitt sat on his balls in a way that was wildly painful, and they had to cancel production for a day. That's like all I think about when Mr. Belvedere comes up.
So glad I asked that question just so I could hear.
So maybe
I think of the theme song.
It's a great theme song.
Streaks on the china, never mattered before.
That's one of those theme songs that doesn't apply at all to
drop kick your jacket.
It's so
as
weird.
You came through the door. No one cared. Yeah, I don't know.
So I've got a few things that were on the Wikipedia page for, I think, Major League 2. So David S. Ward announced in 2010 that he was working on a new film, which he called Major League 3, and hoped to cast the original stars, Charlie Sheen, Wesley Snipes, and Tom Berenger. The plot would see Sheen's character, Ricky Wild Thing Vaughn, coming out of retirement to work with a young player. The film is being seen as the third film in the series, despite the fact that a third film, Major League Back to the Minors, was released in 1998. Let's see.
Did Major League 3, did Back to the Minors, was that released in theaters or was that like a straight to DVD?
I think it was straight to video.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. On April 6, 2011, in Cleveland, Ohio, Charlie Sheen, during his Violent Torpedoes of Truth tour, announced to the audience that he was working on a third sequel titled Major League 3 and said, "We are going to shoot it right here in Cleveland." He opened the show wearing a Rick Vaughn number 99 Cleveland Indians jersey. And then so this is interesting. So this is 2017. Morgan Creek, the production company, announced plans to reboot their classic films from the 80s and 90s as either television series or movies following the success of the Exorcist television series. Several films in the early stages of development include film series Young Guns, Major League, and Ace Ventura. I haven't heard anything about that since.
I thought that I had heard something about Ace Ventura, about something being done with that, but I had not heard anything about Young Guns. I really didn't see anything about anything happening with it, but I mean, I don't know. John, what are your thoughts? What would you... So you've got the ball, run with it.
Yeah, so I would want to do a remake. The thing is, like, this is where the definition between remake and reboot kind of toes the line, because a reboot of Major League could be considered to be like any other sports underdog movie, because if the thing that makes Major League is Major League Baseball, once you start calling it something else, then it becomes just a completely different franchise, really.
Becomes back to the minors.
Sure. So, yeah, exactly. So a remake, I think, would be really good. The same story, it works. You know, it's somebody who inherits a team and wants to kind of gut it and like do it, you know, have their way with it so they can get out of whatever city they're in. Here's the thing is that I would want it to not be in Cleveland, to remove the Indians, you know, that overlying like dark cloud of racism that comes along with a team called the Indians. And my thought was actually like, why not put it in Seattle? Make it the Mariners.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, totally. So
the Mariners, the Mariners are like, they do not have a reputation for being a winning team. And
back in the 90s when they had like Ken Griffey Jr., I remember like being like, hey, the Mariners, because they've got like this star player. I don't know if they were good aside from him, but
you could very easily remake Major League and set it in Seattle, and I mean, it rains half of the year here, so and that is pretty much like well, it's not baseball season. It's actually nice during most of baseball season, but it makes perfect sense to set it in Seattle. And I mean, I think it's funny because you think about Major League and Cleveland, and it's like there's that the opening credits of Major League where they show that the city is kind of it's not this lively, bustling city. Right. It's just kind of like run down, and it's like you equate the fortunes of the sports team with the fortunes of the city.
Yeah. Well, and just thinking about right now, it's like I would say that a city like Cleveland and a city like Seattle are in similar territories where it's like, you know, they're not the most popular cities, but they're also not like thought to be, you know, dumps.
Right.
They certainly have their industrial, areas, but what cities don't?
Well, and I mean, Seattle. I mean, and Seattle's also a big tech hub.
Yeah,
and there's a lot. I would suggest that there's a good amount going on here, but it's also the type of city that you could easily portray in that vibe, where especially someone who's like a wealthy conservative, would want to get out of, because Seattle is not the most conservative city in the world.
Yeah. So
there's protests for everything all the time.
Yeah.
So
I've got a cast, just straight replacements for a lot of the characters. I would have our Jake Taylor character, the guy who's towards the end of his career. He's a catcher with bum knees. Paul Rudd. I could totally see Paul Rudd doing that kind of role. Very likable, but just like over it. And, you know, we'll have some sort of emotional, romantic storyline because he's still believable as somebody who would have that. For Rick Vaughn, I'd do Donald Glover. He's great. Who doesn't like Donald Glover? For Dorn, I would do Bradley Cooper.
Oh my God. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Would you still call them the same? Would you rename the
names
characters?
Could be different, and that's where this next one also gets into a little bit of a gray area, which is Willie Mays Hayes. I was actually thinking Adam Devine for that. He's so good at playing like cocky and just like very arrogant and you know, confident, but maybe shouldn't be, but maybe he is good at what he does.
Willie Mays Hayes is a damn fast runner. Wesley Snipes, not so much because they had to. That's why they have like the slow motion of him running in the pajamas.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think if Adam Devine got into shape where you would like buy him as that athletic, as an athlete, I could totally see him like character wise.
So I would actually lose Serrano, but I would actually keep Rube Baker. I think that the Rube Baker character is way too interesting to not include. And I'd have that be Paul Walter Hauser, who was in I, Tonya, and he was the lead in Richard Jewell. He was Richard Jewell.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you see I, Tonya? That's what I'm really thinking about. So like,
he's the secure, isn't he? Like the
he's the bigger guy. I forget what his.
Doesn't he like? Isn't he like kind of like the faux security?
He's the conspirator.
Yeah.
Oh wait, are you talking about Richard Jewell or?
No, I'm
because Richard Jewell, he's a security guy.
No. I meant like, he's the conspiracy guy in I, Tonya. Yeah, no. I didn't see Richard Jewell, so
you're fine.
I know
it's not good.
Not on my list.
Yeah.
So
the Harry Doyle character, Will Arnett.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
great.
And the Rachel Phelps character, or whoever it would be, Gina Davis. Gina Davis, back in the baseball movie, you know,
Yeah, I'm thinking about the Taylor casting, and the one thing about Paul Rudd, and I love Paul Rudd, but it's almost like, does he play it old? I know he technically is old enough, but
yeah,
does he play as like that? I mean, I guess he can. You know,
Tom Berenger wasn't like old.
No, but he seemed he felt. I mean, Paul Rudd could totally
in 1989. Everybody in 1989 seemed older than they actually were.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true. I totally see it. I see it.
Yeah. So, and you know, it wouldn't be just like a shot for shot remake of the original. Certainly you would be adding in things that are more relevant to the time. If it is in Seattle, perhaps like the stadium is called something different each game because a different, you know, keeps on getting sold off, you know, to different
which would make
companies.
Sense. In Seattle, it's Amazon Stadium one week, and then it's Microsoft Stadium,
but each time it like goes down a tier, but then as they get better, it gets back up to Amazon
Sub Pop Stadium.
Yeah,
or a dispensary.
Totally. That's when they're at their worst.
Well, and what I was kind of tossing around the remake, you know, what would you do? And I was like, maybe, and I was also thinking, well, you'd replace the Serrano character, but would you bring in like someone who's kind of like new agey, and especially if it's in the Pacific Northwest?
You know what? Personally, I wouldn't do something like that because, you know, it's a category of people that's easy to mock. And it almost just seems like, I don't know, cheap shots.
Yes, fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, what were your thoughts about all this?
Well, honestly, man, I would love to see a sequel
Okay.
where, Major League Hall of Fame.
Ooh.
And it's Willie Mays Hayes is getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. Just because I was thinking, like, age-wise, like, one of them is getting inducted in the Hall of Fame. I was thinking Willie Hayes Mays made sense. But then, so you have them attending the Hall of Fame ceremony, and let's say, let's say this were to come out in, like, 2024. It's the 35th anniversary of the 89 Indians, and you bring back the cast, but then you also have players from other teams, which is where we've got a little crossover, because I'm like, that's where you cast all your great people, like everyone from baseball movies. Like that's where you get Gina Davis, call Lori Petty.
Wait a second.
Get Madonna.
Hold on a second.
Get Kevin Costner.
Wait, hold on. Getting Gina Davis and Lori Petty is a little different, because in 1994 or whatever, or 1989, like at that era, they were like already 70.
Well, I'm not saying get them as their characters. I'm just saying get them, but they're playing other characters. They're not playing.
Okay. I'm sorry. I thought that you
like
actually
Madonna's
meant...
not playing all the way May. Madonna is playing
like a skeleton.
Like, well, it's kind of like, think about that. Madonna's playing a skeleton.
Yeah, she's a reanimated skeleton of her.
No, but I'm thinking, like, what if you have a character who, let's say the commissioner is played by Robert Redford. What if Kevin Costner?
So you're just
playing
talking about bringing in actors who were in movies, basically.
Getting actors, and
when you
meanwhile,
first said it, I was thinking that you were talking about getting, like, I don't know, Daniel Stern from Rookie of the Year.
No, but I have Thomas Ian Nichols on my list.
Thomas Ian Nichols, right? But I thought that you meant like playing their characters.
No.
Thomas Ian Nichols would be his character at that. Yeah,
he would make sense. But yeah, no. We're not going to bring in John Cusack from 8 Men Out to play a character that's like 200 years old.
Right.
But like, Kevin Costner's done 1,000 baseball movies. Bring him in. Get
John
get
Goodman,
kids from
the
The Sandlot. Get some of the kids from The Sandlot. Bring in, like, fucking Susan Sarandon, Thelma and Louise, baseball, everything all together.
Whoa.
I mean, that's what I'm talking about, John. Hall of Fame.
Okay. So
Major League Hall of Fame. It's a comedic extravaganza.
So this takes place in Cooperstown, New York. So
yes.
Does this mean that there's going to be a scene involving a bunch of Corvettes from the nearby Corvette Museum, which I know about from when I took a childhood trip to Cooperstown and, of course, made a stop at the Corvette Museum?
We all went on that. We were all on that trip. I don't think we all went to the Corvette Museum, though.
I certainly did. There was definitely a big deal made of Death Race 2000.
Wait, no, we did all go to the Corvette Museum and Corvette Summer, Death Race
and
2000
Corvette Summer,
and Corvette
Mark
Summer.
Hamill's Corvette Summer.
Yes,
that's right.
And was it Annie Potts with him in that, or was that
It might have been. I don't remember.
Anyway,
that sounds about right.
Annie Potts.
Love Annie Potts.
Oh, we'll go with it.
Yeah,
we'll go with it. Annie Potts is awesome. But yeah, no, I was just thinking. I was like, wouldn't it be fun to? Because who does that with baseball movies? And it's kind of like, The Expendables has done that with action movies. But I'm like, who would do that? It's like, let's do that. We get a Tom Hanks cameo in there.
Yeah.
And, because he was in just like you put Gina Davis in your Major League remake.
Sure.
She's in my Major League 3, my Major League Hall of Fame.
Major League Hall of Fame. So what happens while they're there?
Wacky hijinks ensue.
Oh, okay. Good.
No,
Wacky
I mean,
hijinks.
yeah, I kind of came up it was just the concept that I was like, this would be a fun concept if you get some talented writers, people who have a passion for, who are fans of the film and have a passion for baseball, get them working on it and just kind of like I'm thinking like you could reintroduce old old rivalries and old relationships, but then also, establish some new ones, like maybe the Costner character and the Berenger character, were feuding for, their first position or something, and that comes back. I don't know.
Maybe it's like, instead of it being centered around baseball games, it's centered around baseball challenges. Like, each one gets challenged to like a stolen base competition for Willie Mays Hayes.
Oh no, wait,
or a home run derby.
There's gotta be like a Hall of Fame, kind of like an old timers game,
right?
And this is where I feel like you'd kind of see the Thomas Ian Nichols character on like the, kind of the younger you'd have the younger Hall of Famers versus the older Hall of Famers. I don't know. You could work something like that out.
Sure.
Why not?
I'd watch it. I wouldn't watch Back to the Minors, but I'd watch that.
Yeah, Major League Hall of Fame. Bring them back. And
Yeah, has there been a good baseball movie in a while? I can't think of anything. If you think of anything, I mean, yeah, we can look this up.
Moneyball?
Moneyball was good. I did like Moneyball, but that was already like...
Not as much for the
That was
baseball.
2011, 2012?
Yeah, but and that also that wasn't Moneyball.
It was less about the baseball.
It wasn't as
more
much about
yeah,
the business,
but it was still a baseball movie. And it's funny because in that movie's got Chris Pratt in it, and I was even thinking about him because he plays kind of like a Rube Baker type character in that. Yeah, and
42, the Jackie Robinson story.
Yeah,
yeah. That would be, I guess, the last. I mean, Fever Pitch was 2004.
Yeah,
yeah. The Rookie, that was early 2000s. Yeah, there really hasn't been. The Rookie's a good Dennis Quaid, man. Get Dennis Quaid in the Major League Hall of Fame.
Yeah, The Scout. That was another good one that you could get in there. Get Brendan Fraser back.
Yeah, Albert Brooks. Diane Wiest.
Right. She's the therapist.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there hasn't been. I'm trying to think of like series.
Yeah. I mean, there was the Bad News Bears remake baseball in the 2000s.
Yeah. That was like mid 2000s with Billy Bob Thornton. Not great.
If anybody listening can think of a good baseball movie that's come out recently that, because we're just not going to Google it, email us for
Sorry, John's only speaking for himself there. I just Googled it.
Oh, you did Google it. Okay.
Yeah.
ruinchildhoodspot@gmail.com. If you have any ideas for a new life for Major League, email us. And also just check out our Instagram, comment on our Instagram posts. That's another good way of getting in touch with us. Dan, is there anything you want to add about the Major League movies?
No, nothing.
They're a damn good time. The first two are a damn good time.
Even the second one, yeah.
The second one has its moments.
It does have its moments, and I will agree. Rube Baker, quite a character. I keep almost calling him Rube Goldberg.
Rube Goldberg, yeah.
I need to stop myself.
No, Rube is awesome. And I mean, I have to give credit to Eric Bruscotter. I can never say his last name. Does an awesome job. He's great.
You say, I can never say his last name, as though you need to say it frequently.
Every time on this episode, I've tried to say it, I've botched it. So every time I've literally ever said his name, I've botched it. But he's great. He was in, he was interesting. He was in some pretty good stuff.
He was in The Fan, which is not good. That was also with Wesley Snipes.
Oh, yeah. That's
the
right.
Fan, Tony Scott's The Fan, which I remember most for one shot that was upside down. There was like an upside down shot, and like it's pouring rain, and that movie was just bad.
Oh my God.
Wesley Snipes and Robert De Niro and Rube Baker.
Yeah, so he was also in Crimson Tide, Starship Troopers. He was Breckenridge in Starship Troopers, Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. Let's see, actor currently filming. He's in Nuns with Guns. He did a few episodes of Glee, Franklin and Bash, Law and Order, things like that. He's in 24. Also another Dennis Haysbert vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. President David Palmer, if I'm not mistaken. He did a few episodes of Quantum Leap as different characters. In one of them, he was Glenn, and one he was Red. In another, he was Bo. Just saying.
Maybe he was quantum leaping as well.
That could very well be.
Yeah.
Quantum Leap.
So
back to the minors.
Yeah. So, John, do you have any final words on Major League?
I'm good. Dan, why don't you tell us about our next episode?
Okay, well, our next episode, we're going a little noir on this one. We're going back to the 70s. Robert Altman's The Long Goodbye.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited to talk about it. It's currently streaming on one of the streaming services. Also, check out Hoopla or Canopy if you have a library that's in their system, which is very likely. And Dan says that it's been on there, but I know it's on one of the other more premium streaming services as of just the other day. So it's wild. I'm excited to talk about it.
Looking forward to watching it. I've never seen it, but it's always been on my list. I'm a Robert Altman fan.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
excited to cross it off the list there, John.
All right.
On that note, I bid you a good journey.
Good journey.
Hot spots got the hippest groove. Cleveland. Where all the real gun daddies move. Cleveland. Dig that sweet Cuyahoga glow.
What smells so good?
Cleveland.